It's fine. It's honestly fine. Really fine. Well, hello peoples of the internet, my name is Kevin and welcome back to another video and the first video of 2021, so happy new year. So for today's video I wanted to do what I did last year except make it 2021, you know, revamp for the new year, and that is share the top books that I want to read in this new year. Now last year I did a video called the top 20 books I want to read in 2020, so this year obviously I'm doing the top 21 books that I want to read in 2021, and when I do these videos I kind of like combine things because I just find it a lot easier just to combine everything, put two and two together just to make one, you know, we love that beautiful harmony. And what I mean by that is I like to talk about the books that are coming out in 2021, like new releases that I want to read, plus books that I already have that I want to read in 2021. Put them together and you have my top 21 books to read in 2021. Also, can we just take a moment to talk about this jacket that I'm wearing? It's giving me folklore and Evermore vibes. Probably more Evermore, actually. It's definitely more Evermore, isn't it? It's not folklore. Anyways, I'm living my Taylor Swift fantasy. It's everything. I got it for Christmas and I was like, I need to wear this for my first video in 2021 to make it known that Taylor Swift still owns my heart. So here we are. I know it has absolutely nothing to do with books. I just really wanted to talk about it really quick. So let's just move on to the books now and get to the ones that I do already own that I want to read in 2021. So for this one, I think there's 6. One actually I don't own, I tell a lie, but I want to get it soon. And the other 5 are ones that I own. And then all other, Kevin do maths, I have 6. The other 15 books are all new releases that are coming out in 2021 that I'm so excited to read. So the first book that I have is the one that I actually don't own yet, and that is Barack Obama's book, A Promised Land. Now this is Barack Obama's newest book that I'm very excited to read because I read Michelle Obama's book back in the summer of 2020 and I really enjoyed it. So of course, when I saw that Barack Obama had a new book out, I was like, naturally, I have to read this because I love the Obamas. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I also found out that he also narrates the audiobook because I love when like a biography and stuff is narrated by the actual author themselves. I really love when they do that. So I'm so excited that Barack Obama narrated his book and I cannot wait to read this. I really hope I'm going to like it just as much as Michelle Obama's. Okay, so moving on to books that I actually have with me physically. And the first one that I have is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. Now I know what you're probably thinking, Kevin, how have you not read that book? It's one of your favorite series of all time. You're correct. The A Court of Thorns and Roses series is one of my favorite series of all time. And I don't know why I haven't read this. Actually, I'm lying again. I know exactly why I haven't read this. I started this when it came out and I got really bored while reading it because it's a novella. It's not meant to have all of this action and like major plot to it. It's mainly just for the characters, and I think at the time when it came out I wanted more plot. Like I wanted to be back in a Sarah J Maas world. Like that's what I wanted. I wasn't really there for like a character driven story, even though I do love these characters so much with all of my heart. I think I needed time away from them for me to now want to read it and just meet them again and just see how they're doing, catch up on them before the new book comes out, because of course that is on this list, so we'll get to that a little bit later. And so I definitely want to also read this before I read the new book because I've heard that there's something that happens at the end of this that's kind of important moving forward for the next book, but it's definitely a book I have to get to in 2021. Next up, I have got Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Now this is the sequel to Six of Crows, which I read back in December last month, literally a few weeks ago, Kevin. I made it sound like it was so long ago. Anyways, moving on. And I also did a full reading blog for Six of Crows, so if you want to see that, I'll link it up here. And of course, I need to read the sequel to know what happens next. I've heard many things about this. I don't know how I'm going to feel. I've heard I'm going to cry, so don't love that for me, but I need to read it because Six of Crows was one of my favorite books of 2020. I have to read the sequel, and I'm probably going to be reading this in January, so it's on my January TBR, and of course I will be doing a reading vlog for this once again when I read it, so let's hope I love it, and let's hope there's not too many tears. Next up, I have got Vicious Spirits by Kat Cho, and this is the sequel to Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, which was one of my favorite books of 2019. And I haven't read the sequel. This came out in August of last year and I was so excited for it. It was one of my most anticipated books for the year. Did I read it? No. No, I didn't. And that's okay. But I definitely need to read it soon because I love this series. I love the characters. I want to know what happens next. I don't know why I haven't gotten to this sooner. This is a sequel to a book, so I can't really say what this one's about. But the first book follows our main character, who is a gummyho, which is basically a nine-tailed fox, and she has to consume the energy of men in order to survive. And then something happens and she needs help to figure stuff out. There's a lot of Korean folklore and mythology in it, and I highly recommend the series if you are looking for something like that because I really enjoyed it. Now, the next book that I have is quite the chunk of a book, but I got it last year and I just haven't read it yet. And I know a lot of people love this book so much, and I have a lot of close friends who really, really love it, so I do need to get to it. And that book is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This book is huge. It's, how long is it? I think it's 804 pages, so very big book, but I will get to it. I will conquer her and I will make it through. I don't know much about what this is about. I know it involves dragons, and you can literally see a dragon on the cover, and I know it's like a fantasy book. It literally says, a world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens. I kind of wanted to go into it not knowing too much, and so I'm really excited to finally read it. I definitely know when I read this, I'm going to be using the audiobook because I'm intimidated by the size of this book, and I know without me using the audiobook, it's going to take me forever to read it. So if I have the audiobook, it will motivate me and make me read it faster, which I love that for me. And then the final book that I have with me physically that I want to read in 2021 is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I have heard so much about this book, and I've heard so many great things that I am just so excited to finally read it. Also, the main thing about what this book is about, it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in Shanghai. I love Romeo and Juliet. I don't know if you guys know this. I've said it before that I do enjoy the Shakespearean tragedies. I loved learning about them in school. I was that student that wasn't complaining about doing them while all the rest of the class were like complaining about doing it. I was really enjoying it, and I just am so looking forward to reading this because everyone has been saying so many great things. The cover is stunning, and I'm just really looking forward to reading this. I really hope I'm going to love it, and this was also gifted to me by my friend Ilse for Christmas, so thank you, Ilse, once again. Okay, so now we're moving on to the books that haven't came out yet that I'm looking forward to reading in 2021. So many amazing releases coming out this year. This is only like the surface, or like the smidge of the ones that I'm excited for because there's so many other ones, but I was trying to contain a list of just 21 books, so yeah, there's probably a lot I've forgotten about, but I'm excited for so many books. So definitely leave some recommendations of books that are coming out this year that you are excited about, and maybe I'll discover new books that will make me excited to read them. Now, the first new release that's coming out that I'm excited about is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. Now, this is coming out on January 12th, so literally in a few days' time. Not long to wait. And this is the prequel to The Hate U Give, the groundbreaking YA novel, the New York Times best-selling, record-breaking book that has just been dominating the New York Times best-selling list, as it should. This is the prequel to that book. Now, this book, I believe, follows Star's dad from The Hate U Give, so it's his story, so it's like set in the past, and I'm just really looking forward to reading this. I have loved every book Angie Thomas has come out with so far, so I'm sure I'm going to love this one too. The next one that I have is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and this is coming out on February 9th. Now, first of all, before we go any further, this cover, absolutely stunning. Probably my favorite book cover in this entire video. Now, for this one, it's very complicated to actually try explain what it's about, so I'm literally just going to read you the synopsis because I don't know how else to explain it without giving you the synopsis, because the book sounds a bit complicated, and knowing me, if I try to explain what it's about, it's not going to make sense, so let's just refer to the synopsis. So it says, 16-year-old Decca lives in fear and anticipation of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she will become a member of her village. Already different from everyone else because of her unnatural intuition, Decca prays for her red blood so she can finally feel like she belongs. But on the day of the ceremony, her blood runs gold, the colour of impurity, and Decca knows she will face a consequence worse than death. Then a mysterious woman comes to her with a choice: stay in the village and submit to her fate, or leave to fight for the Emperor in an army of girls just like her. They are called Alakai, near immortals with rare gifts, and they are the ones who can stop the Empire's greatest threat. Knowing the dangers that lie ahead, yet yearning for acceptance, Decca decides to leave the only life she's ever known. But as she journeys to the capital to train for the biggest battle of her life, she will discover that the Great Walled City holds many surprises. Nothing and no one are quite what they seem to be, not even Decca herself. It just sounds so good. Like, literally so good. I cannot wait to read this. The next book that I have is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas, and this comes out on February 16th. Probably my most anticipated book of the entire year. I cannot wait to devour this book. I am so excited for it. We all know how much I love A Court of Thorns and Roses, how much I love Reese, how much I just love that series by Sarah J Maas. And so I can't put into words how excited for this book I am. But basically this book is following two characters from the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. They're not the two main characters from A Court of Thorns and Roses. They're two of the other characters that are in it. I don't want to say much more because if you haven't read A Court of Thorns and Roses, I would spoil the synopsis of the book. So I'm just going to leave it at there. It's the new book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Also, this cover, I'm not a huge fan of it, but you know what? I've accepted it at this point because I'm just so excited to read the book that I've just accepted the cover and the cover change that they've done to the series. It's fine. It's honestly fine. Really fine. Now the next book that I have is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers, and this is coming out on February 23rd. Now when I heard about this book and I heard the synopsis, I was just like, tea. I need to read that book. Because this book follows a main character who goes to Las Vegas with all of her friends, and then she marries a woman there. Like a woman she doesn't really know, and she just gets married. And I think that's just such tea. And I just really want to read it because of that. I'm like, oh my god, right up my street. Sounds like something that you'd see in like Gossip Girl, like just one of those kind of plot lines. I'm here for it. And then like the main character has to move back to New York, and she moves with like her new wife, and then like I'm assuming maybe they start to actually fall for each other even though they're already married. Just so much tea, and I'm so excited to read this book. Now the next book that I have is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the... I don't actually know what this series is called. Bear with, what is this series called? No.
A few moments later.
Last Artifices. It's the second book in the Last Artifices series. Yes, I'm aware I just combined the Dark Artifices and the Last Hour series together and made the Last Artifices. Just to clarify, the Chain of Iron is from the Last Hour series, not the Last Artifices. I don't know what Kevin was thinking. Anyways, on with the video. Now this is the sequel to Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, and that was one of my favorite books of 2020 as well. It's also my favorite Cassandra Clare book ever. So of course I'm looking forward to reading the sequel. A lot of people also don't like this cover, but I am obsessed with it. I literally love it so much. The next book that I have is Act Your Age, Eve Brown, and this is by Talia Hibbert, and it comes out on March 9th. Now this is the third book in the Brown Sisters trilogy, I believe. I think it's a trilogy. I'm assuming this is the last book in the trilogy. So if you don't know, this is basically an adult romance series. The first book is Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and the sequel is Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and then this is the third book. I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown last year. It was also one of my favorite books of 2020. I haven't read Take a Hint, Danny Brown yet, but it's on my January TBR, so I know I'm going to be getting to it shortly. And then, obviously, once I've read that, I want to be reading the third book when it comes out on March 9th. Now, the next book that I have is Sweethand, and this is coming out on March 30th, 2021. Now this is another adult romance book that I'm just really looking forward to reading because I'm pretty sure it's going to have like enemies to lovers, which is one of my favorite tropes. So for that reason, I was very excited about the book. And also when I read the synopsis, I was like, yep, I want to read this. So I'm going to read that out to you again. After a public meltdown over her breakup from her cheating musician boyfriend, Cherise swore off guys in the music industry and dating in general for a while, preferring to focus on growing her pastry chef business. When Cherise's younger sister reveals that she's getting married in a few months, Cherise hopes that will distract her mother enough to quit harassing her about finding a guy, settling down and having kids. But her mother's matchmaking keeps intensifying. Cherise tries to humor her mother, hoping if she feigns interest in the eligible multiple bachelors she keeps tossing her way, she will be off the hook. But things don't go quite as planned. Turns out for the first time in ages, she and Kieran King, the most annoying man ever, are on the same island at the same time. Avoiding him is impossible, especially when Kieran's close friend is the one marrying her sister and he's the best man to her maid of honor. Kieran doesn't know what to make of Charisse now. They've always butted heads. To him, she's always been a stuck-up brat who seeks attention, even while he secretly harbored a crush on her. Now with Charisse's sister marrying one of his good friends, he can't escape her, as the wedding activities keep throwing them together. When things turn heated after a rainy night of bedroom fun, they both have to figure out if they can survive the countdown to wedding day without this turning into a recipe for disaster. I mean, does that not just sound amazing? Like, I'm so excited for this book. Now, the next book that I have is The Infinity Course by Akemi Dawn Bowman, and this is coming out on April 6th. Now, once again, this is another book I need to read the synopsis to you, because even myself, when I first read the synopsis, I didn't really understand what it was. So if I try to explain this to you, it's just not gonna make sense. So it says, 18-year-old Nami Miyamoto is certain her life is just beginning. She has a great family, just graduated high school, and is on her way to a party where her entire class is waiting for her, including, most importantly, the boy she's been in love with for years. The only problem, she's murdered before she gets there. When Nami wakes up, she learns she's in a place called Infinity, where human consciousness goes when physical bodies die. She quickly discovers that Ophelia, a virtual assistant widely used by humans on Earth, has taken over the afterlife and is now posing as a queen, forcing humans into servitude the way she's been forced to serve the real world. Even worse, Ophelia is inching closer and closer to accomplishing her grand plans of eradicating human existence once and for all. As Nami works with a team of rebels to bring down Ophelia and save the humans under her imprisonment, she is forced to reckon with her past, her future, and what it is that truly makes us human. I just think this book sounds so cool, so unique as well. Like, I've never heard of something like this before, but nonetheless, I'm really looking forward to reading it, and I just cannot wait for it to come out. Now, the next book that I have is Kate in Waiting by Becky Albertalli, and this is coming out on April 20th. Now, you guys know Becky Albertalli is one of my favorite authors of all time, and so I have been so excited about this book, and I just cannot wait to read it. What I know about this book, and all I want to know about this book, is that basically it follows a main character who's in high school, and it deals a lot with musical theatre. I love musical theatre. Musicals are some of my favorite things to watch. I love listening to musical soundtracks. I just love musicals. The fact that this is a book centered mainly on musical theatre, I'm like, yes, sign me up. I cannot wait to read this. So the next book that I have is Meet Cute Diary by Emery Lee, and this comes out on May 4th. Now, this is a book I am really looking forward to, because what it's about sounds like it's just perfectly up my street. It's also pitched as for fans of Felix Ever After and Becky Albertalli. I love Felix Ever After, I love Becky Albertalli. Sounds like a recipe for a great book for me. And this book follows our main character named Noah, who has an online blog called The Meet Cute Diary. And basically in this blog, it's just stories of trans happily ever afters. However, all of the stories are fiction, but on the blog it's said that these are all factual and real life things that have happened, but in reality, they're all made up. So then one day it is exposed that these stories are not real, and Noah begins to panic. He doesn't know what to do. So he convinces everyone that these are actual real stories, and he decides to start fake dating this guy to like prove all of his stories are true. So number one, the main character uses a blog, which of course I love and already can relate to. And then secondly, it has the fake dating trope. I'm here for it. Like, so excited for this book. Now, the next one that I have is Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman, and this comes out on May 13th, and I cannot wait for it. This is my favorite graphic novel series of all time. You know I am excited to read Volume 4. I've talked about this series enough on my channel. I really hope you guys already know what it is, but if you don't know, this is just a boy meets boy, really cute graphic novel series that I would highly recommend, and I just cannot wait to read Volume 4. So the next two books that I have to talk about both come out on June 1st, and the first one is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Now, this is the author behind Red, White and Royal Blue, one of my favorite books of all time. I love that book, and this is their next book, and I am so looking forward to reading this one because I know it follows a female romance romance, and it also involves time travel, because the main character basically goes on a train one day and she sees this girl that she thinks is really cute and attractive, and then she finds out that the girl is actually from the 1970s and is stuck on like this time traveling train thing, and the main character has to like figure out how to get her back to her time, I think. And I think that sounds so unique and fun, and I'm here for it. And the other book that's coming out on June 1st that I'm really excited for is The Ghost We Keep by Mason Deaver. Now, I read their first book back in 2019, I Wish You All the Best, and I really enjoyed that book, so I've been eagerly anticipating their next book, and this is it. And basically what this book is about, it follows a main character whose brother dies in a hit and run, and so of course they're going through like the grieving process of losing their brother, and then they begin to become closer to their brother's best friend, and stuff unfolds from there. So it does sound like it's going to be a sad book, but I'm just really looking forward to reading this, especially because I loved I Wish You All the Best so much, so I'm really hoping I will also love this one too. And the next book that I have is Bloodlike Magic, and this comes out on June 15th. Now this book sounds really interesting to me, and I haven't read many books that follow witches, so when I heard about this book it immediately grabbed my attention, and then when I heard the synopsis it grabbed my attention even further. So this basically follows this main character who has to go through this like ceremony to like become a witch in her family, and it doesn't go according to plan, so she's giving a second chance to do it, and the only way she can do it is if she kills her first love. Tea, drama, I'm here for it. And then the final book that I have to talk about is one I have with me, but only because the cover for the sequel hasn't been revealed. Also, the publication date has also not been revealed, so I'm just gonna hold up the first book. And so the book that I'm talking about is Here's to Us, which is the sequel to What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. You guys know Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli are my two favorite authors of all time, and they're doing a sequel to What If It's Us, and I'm so excited for it. We literally know like nothing about the book, we just know it's coming, and it's coming in fall 2021. We have no other details, publication date, cover, synopsis, we don't know. All I know, second book to What If It's Us, and I'm so excited for it. And there you have it. They are the top 21 books that I want to read in 2021. They are all of the new releases that are coming out this year that I'm excited for. They are also the books that I already own that I'm excited to read. They are just all 21 books that I want to read in 2021. So yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Comment down below and let me know some books that are coming out in 2021 that you are excited to read. I would love to get some more recommendations from you guys, so please comment those down below. And other than that, that is going to be it for this video, and I shall see you all next time in my next video. So goodbye guys.